there, and welcome to the Creative Knit Tensions podcast, a knit, crochet, spin, weave, quilt, sew, just kind of general craftiness podcast. I'm Tanya, and I can be found on Ravelry as T-Knit Pearl. I can also be found on Instagram as T-Knit Pearl, and there is a Ravelry group for this podcast. You'll just go over to Ravelry and click on the Groups tab and search for Creative Knit Tensions, and you'll find us there, so come on and join us. Today's segments include Whippets, where we talk about what's on my needles or what's on my crochet hooks. Over It, so that's where we discuss any finished objects and, go over what's come off the needles recently. Just Keep Spinning, covering everything from current spinning projects to recently finished skeins or future spinning plans. We'll also have a Stitch 'em What segment today, covering everything thread and needle. So, quilt, sew, things of that sort, even needlework, just not today. And we'll also have an event segment. And so I hope you have something crafty to keep your hands busy, something delightful to drink. I have the lovely poisonous Diet Pepsi over here to help me today. And, maybe a snuggly pet. It's getting a little bit cooler now in a lot of parts of the country, so that kind of snuggle up under a blanket and, just enjoy kind of weather. So maybe you've got a pet with you today. Let's just jump in. So starting with Whippets. I currently have two works in progress, and the first is the Salted Sweater by Alicia Plummer. It is a design that I'm working on out of Nerd Girl Yarns in the Always colorway on the Smashing DK base, which is this beautiful green with blacks and little gray dustings and shimmer and all of that good stuff. And as you can see, in terms of this being a sweater, I've gotten pretty far. It is a kind of a 3/4 length sleeve sweater, so this is counting as a sleeve right here. There's this beautiful what's referred to as a punchwork lace detail at the top, and you're currently looking at the back of the sweater. The punchwork lace is a little bit shorter in the front, but it's a very lovely little lace detail, a little bit offset. And we're about this far on sleeve number 1. So not very far at all on the second sleeve. This has been for me a work in progress for a very long time. We are on episode 11, and I know we talked about the whole frequency thing, we're going to do this more often, whatever, and that failed. But this has been a whippet for the majority of that time, and normally with me and sweaters, that is not the case. They just kind of magically fly off the needles and I don't have to really worry about them. But I've been working on this sweater for about a month and a half now. Yeah, it's beautiful yarn. I absolutely adore it. I love the subtle sparkle. I mean, the sparkle's great to have in a sweater or two. I wouldn't want it in every sweater, but it is nice to have in a sweater like this. Originally, I was thinking this might be my Rhinebeck sweater, but we'll talk about some potential changes in that in an upcoming segment. But I have lost the mojo, and it came back recently. This lovely thing behind me that I'm currently sitting on is our new sofa, and for me, it seems to have helped increase my general crafting mojo. And so, yeah, the sweater's just kind of been languishing. It's literally been curled up like this for far too long, and I'm glad that I'm starting to work on it again, especially since Rhinebeck is about a week and a half. Today is October 6th. But at the same time, now that my mojo is coming back, I'm starting to get googly-eyed. And so I have this yarn that I believe I've showed you on a past episode. So again, they're girl yarns, as I do many of my sweaters in. The colorway is called Osgood, and the base is Dingo. So Dingo is a 4-ply superwash merino and nylon base, so in 85-15, about 230 yards. But it has all of these, the nylon parts are these little nooks in it that have the tweediness to them. And for a while, I have had plans to turn this yarn into a high street vest. And the high street vest is a very basic vest pattern. It's just, a little bit of a V. You can really use it as a platform for any designs you may like. And so recently I bought, I'm trying to show you. I bought this tunic. And I'm kind of pulling up like this so that you can see the color. This is very true to the color of this tunic. In terms of Rhinebeck sweater plans, I can't stop thinking about, well, what if I made my high street in this yarn? And, you guys can see, but it's got all these yellows and oranges and browns and purples and just nubby little bits of goodness. It really does have a bit of a fall feel to it. And wore the high street over this tunic. I don't know. Do these? What are your thoughts on these two colors together? I don't know. And the colors, I'm washing them both out, so we're going to switch hands real quick. See if that does anything. I don't know. But I'm thinking yes, because what you can't see is this tunic has a split hem detail that I think would just, I have this vision in my mind of how well they're going to look together. And so, who knows? This may be my Rhinebeck sweater. It may also be what sits at the bottom of my bag and doesn't get knit on during Rhinebeck. Or this may be my Rhinebeck sweater vest over this tunic. Who knows at this point? With how my knit jo's been, I don't know. My other work in progress has actually been for the Pumpkin Cow, hosted by Gabby of the Once Upon a Corgi podcast, and Opera Joe, or, just Joe, from the Stitching My High Notes podcast, both of which are, highly delightful recommended podcasts. But to explain, my husband has recently started dyeing his own yarn, so he has opened an Etsy shop called Apteno Knits, where he does a whole entire, dye-to-order business based on birds. And so when he started experimenting with the concept of an autumnal bird, he came up with this kind of misfit skein, or as he calls it, it's an extinct bird. And you can probably see it's got all these oranges and grays, and there are little hints of greens and blacks and coppers and all of these different guys. And what I'm actually amazed by is when I pull the yarn, okay, so just watch it right there real quick, how many changes there are in the colors of the yarn. I don't think I've ever had a yarn that I can kind of pull like that, and it changes so rapidly between various different colors. And I'm loving that so much. And so to kind of help him promote his, new business, I decided, I'll make a hat. Hats are easy, right? Are they? Well, in one of my online Ravelry groups, hats are looked at as I collect this pile of yarn that I've now made. I've made a disaster. Cat, come help. Good. No, it's asleep. Lovely. It's on the floor. In one of my online groups, it's generally assumed that hats are kind of like the slump buster. Oh, you've lost your knitting mojo. Knit a hat. And the sockhead hat is one of the hats that we're always like, just knit that hat. You'll totally have your mojo back. And so I decided to start with this skein. I I was going to keep the anticipation going, but I couldn't. A sockhead hat. And again, this is with Aptena Knits Yarns. You can find a link to the Etsy shop probably right below, so somewhere here. But look at, I understand I'm biased. I really do. I understand that I have a little bit of a biased opinion, like I said, but I'm just amazed, even from like a distance like this, how variegated this yarn is. The camera will not show it off well enough, and that's just my crappy camera, but all of these different color changes between the orange and the blacks and the shades of orange and the goldens and these whites that aren't really whites, they're more kind of coppery, and the greens. And I told my husband I would never ever buy this yarn color on my own. Like, I would never pick it up from a shelf and go, oh, I need that. But, oh, I need that. Everything about this hat to me, which I'm currently, you can see for a socket hat, for those of you who are familiar, we're really close to the decreases. So I'm just going to wear it like a cool kid right now. Oh, hats don't look good on my head unless they're slouchy, so we're just gonna, there you go. I need this hat. To me, it's the most autumnal hat in the universe, and so this will be my Rhinebeck hat. I don't know why I say that. I don't know why everything has to be for Rhinebeck. I know Rhinebeck's a huge deal. We all love Rhinebeck. I love Rhinebeck because it's normally my birthday, and the same is true. The Sunday of Rhinebeck this year is my birthday. My 30th birthday, too, so it's a little bit kind of, but sometimes it's strange to me that it's, I've got a Rhinebeck shawl, I've got a Rhinebeck pair of socks, I've got a Rhinebeck scarf, I've got a Rhinebeck hat. Like, can't we just knit and wear things because we love them? I guess we'll take it as knitters and, crafters in general, whatever excuse we need. And I guess that's totally fine with me. I don't know what I'm even saying. But, oh, I love this hat. And that shows it off pretty well. But this has kind of helped me get my mojo back. So as soon as I started kind of knitting on this started happening again. And I do, to kind of go for the sweater vest, camp sweater vest vote. Look at this. These two go together so well compared to these two. Yeah. Yay, right? Totally makes sense, I know. So that's pretty much what I've been working on in terms of whippets. I'm gonna take off the ridiculous, all the hat hair in the world, all the hat hair. I took off the ridiculous thing, but now that we've kind of gone through those works in progress and felt really sad, I feel like I've thrown the pity party about how few whips there currently are in my life. Let's move on to Over It, which is our finished object section. And since I haven't spoken to you in quite some time, there are several. You may recall from the last podcast that one of the things I was working on was the Linen Vest out of Luscious in the Supermassive Black Hole colorway from Your Girl Yarns. And it's a pattern by Isolde Teague. It's just a very simple kind of, top. And mine is finished. Obviously, we've talked on this podcast ad nauseum about how well I am at, weaving in ends and things like that, but it is finished. For me, it's a little bit more of a vest than a sweater. But you can definitely see when I kind of wear it like this, you can see the lace detail and how it opens up. I haven't blocked it yet. I'm actually pretty happy with it like that. I wish when I wore this tunic to work the other day, I'd realized how good this looks with it. But I did not. So that is my first finished object, as I struggle desperately to get it off. Sleeves are hard. There's not much to say in terms of this other than I just love how the color kind of changes throughout. And that is the right side that you're looking at, but you can see here the yarn almost has a little bit more of a pink quality to it. In other places, it's got a little bit more of a deep purple to it. It definitely is for a color palette, very versatile for my wardrobe, obviously. And so I'm excited about that. But fortunately, the 3 whips that we'll be talking about, they've been done for so long that I'm kind of, I know where it's the over it segment, but I'm over them because it's been so long. And so I'm just going to move right on to the second one, which you may recall was in relation to my struggles with the concept of a lace weight cardigan, which is awesome because you can see me right through it. But I did finish my Brazy cardigan in Nerd Girls Yarns in the Woot base and the Supermassive, in the Space Age Clockwork colorway. And yes, it is lace, and the big feature of this particular cardigan is that it has these, these kind of giant front panels that drape so lovely. I did actually finish. And you can see this is going to be a lovely layering piece for my wardrobe. It has that kind of see-through look, obviously. I mean, still see you. Apparently I shouldn't podcast after work. It definitely does have that see-through quality, but it also has all of these different colors in it. There's blues and reds and yellows and blacks and all these things. And originally I had talked about how I was hoping this would be a kind of lightweight, versatile black cardigan in my wardrobe. Just look. When you look at this, even just all balled up like that, do you see black? No, you see everything but black. But there's a lot of black in here. So I'm not going to belabor the point because I whined like a little girl last time about how much I never thought I'd finish a lace weight cardigan, but I did it. Yay. And I could even show you the right side on it. I will say for anyone who works on a cardigan like this, I didn't block this what one would consider the usual way. I actually blocked it from one of the long fronts to the other long front, to the bottom, all across the bottom edging to kind of make a giant rectangle and let the sleeves kind of dither in the air. And it seemed to work really well for that particular garment. So just some ideas. My final over it object or finished object, I will not be putting on for you. I will also be doing a horrible job in showing because to purloin from the concept of purloining. So the Geeky Girls Knit Podcast recently purloined the Purloin segment from the Knit Girls, which is a segment where the Knit Girls steal segments from other podcasters. So I guess in that lovely existential circle, I don't know who you'd consider the purloining being purloined from, but when you're knitting attacks. So this is the Booth Bay cardigan. It is a pattern by Hannah Fettig. And you can see it is a giant, super duper duper warm cardigan. It has this garter stitch border, goes all the way around to this deep hem in the back. If I show you in the correct light, you can see that gorgeous color that it actually is. Right. There's a reason I'm not touching this very much, and then I'm kind of doing a poor job of showing it to you. And also why it still has stitch markers on the sleeves. It itches. So it turns out I do have a sensitivity to alpaca. Who knew? The yarn being used here is Berroco's Ultra Alpaca, which is a 50% alpaca yarn. Well, I can't even put it on without wanting to cry. Right, Molly? You tell them. You tell those people, right? Aww. Family photo time. You gotta go down. I can't. It currently is both hard and smelly because I just slathered hair conditioner all over it in an attempt to soften it up after already soaking it for several days in soak. So I don't have high hopes for this, but the good part is that while my mother is not a big fan of the color, this does look delightful on her. So that could be an option for me. See how lovely that looks? Oh, I love the cardigan. I wish so much that it didn't heat me. Yeah. Moving right along so that, for time sensitivity purposes, just keep spinning. The first thing I have to show you is a finished skein. So this is the August Fiber of the Month Club from Into the World, and this is their Yipes Stripes colorway. It is lots of yellows and orange and pinks and deep purples in certain points, and I spun this on my road bug. And I tried for a thin yarn. My goal was to make more of a sock kind of thing here. And you can see in certain places with that beautiful barber pulling there, I kind of succeeded. And then in other places, you can see how chunky it is. I did chain ply this, so chain plying will always have an effect. It will make for a thicker yarn because technically it becomes a 3-ply, but this has been soaked and twacked and hung and all of that good stuff. You can see how this is my first really balanced chain ply, so I'm pretty excited about that. But the yarn itself is still really inconsistent. I think this is probably the best yarn that I've spun yet. But again, I mean, you have sections like this that are really kind of on the thinner side, and sections like this that are really underplied. I'll get there. It will. Right? I'll get there. I hope. But that does actually bring up something that I personally find really interesting. I had asked a friend of mine who's been spinning for potentially longer than I've been alive why it is that on the wheel, I spin whatever it is, but on the spindle, I spin the thinnest of yarns. I actually 3-plied this just as a kind of swatching, I can't think of the word, a sampling test the other day, and it ends up being a 3-ply lace weight. What I'm currently spinning on this spindle, and this is a Bosworth spindle. I am 100% a Bosworth girl. Rhinebeck, I'm coming for him. Yeah, my lightweight Bosworths. There will be another one coming home with me. But I asked why it's so much easier for me to spin super thin on a spindle versus on a wheel. And she had noted that it's just a matter of practice. I started spindle spinning significantly longer before I actually had a wheel of my own to play with. And so eventually I should probably get a little bit more consistent. We'll see, I guess. But I do have some spinning obviously on this spindle. This is a old Nerd Girl Club colorway. It is actually a Manx Longthorn wool. It's just, it's just a red and natural. It's the actual natural brown of the sheep with just some little red dyed on it, but I have about that much up on my cup. Not a significant amount, I know, but this actually is going to turn out to be probably about 300 yards, so That's how, that's how Tanya's been, apparently, while I'm on the spindle. I don't necessarily have any plans for this. For this over here, I'm thinking, I don't know, guys. Let me just sit it there for you for a second. Stare at it. Yeah, stare at it. I'm thinking, especially since that it is a bit of a gradient, that I'm just going to try and knit a cowl or something to be able to say that I knit with my own handspun. But with this, I don't know. I don't know. This is just probably going to be a lot of lace weight yarn that's going to end up in my stash. And hopefully I'll like it in the end, because I don't like brown and I don't like red. So there's that. But I was really interested to spin with the breed. The breed itself is a very kind of, it's a long wool, but it's a very kind of dirty long wool. It's very kind of self-felty, and let me see if I could pull out an individual fiber. The staple length is actually, never gonna be able to show you staple length. But if you can see that at all, oh, I doubt you can. It's actually a pretty long staple length. Ignore my fingernails, which look like a hot mess. And so when I had first started spinning, I used to have a lot of trouble spinning longer wools. I was partial to merinos and silks and things like that, but I find spinning this is kind of that mystical image that we have of people, you know, you just pull out the spindle and it just spider webs out of your hands and all of that. That's what I find this particular long wool feels like for me. So there's always that. Finally, things. The name of this, I named this segment Stitch What? As in to suggest that the what was a, you know, a profanity of sorts, of some form. But I made a dress. And I'm not going to show you, well, maybe I'll try and show you kind of the skirt a little bit. But more importantly, I'm going to kind of show you the fabric. It is this mauve kind of brown with definite mauve kind of lines and little yellow and green dots. The stripes match very well to this, as you can see. And this is kind of a tea-length dress. It's got some pleats in it. And then it has a very, it is a boat neck. It's not a significant boat neck. It's a very straight boat neck is what I'm trying to get at. I mean, here's where my little head will pop out. Here, like, let me line it up for you. You can see it'll fall very straight across. I was impressed with this with my zipper work, which is right there. It's an entirely self-drafted pattern. I just found this fabric and I wanted to make. Initially, I was thinking a Rhinebeck dress, going back to this whole concept of, oh, we have to have a Rhinebeck everything. And then, I don't know, I don't have a sweater that'll match. And then we found the hat, and so we're going down the orange theme. You know how it happens. And so that is one of many things that I've actually been stitching recently. But what's kind of funny is it's not the only thing. I have been trying to self-draft a lot of skirts recently. And I think what I need to do is find a relatively simple sewing pattern, because I can't understand patterns. We've discussed before the whole reason my husband, who is a knitwear designer and now an indie yarn designer and dyer and all of these things, had to learn how to knit was because I was entirely incapable of reading the pattern, and I got angry at it and I threw it halfway across the room. Well, sewing patterns are kind of the same, and so I feel like I need a relatively simple one to be able to say that I've made, and then just continue to work off of that pattern for any future patterns that I want to draft. Instead, I've been doing the route where I like take fabric and I'm like, yeah, and I squish it around my body and then kind of just, oh, well, we need a pleat here so that we'll fit into it. Oh, we'll need a pleat here so that we'll fit into it. And it's probably not the best go. Maybe it is. It's not. It's not. It's really not the best route to go. So, if you have any recommendations for any super duper 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 idiot sewing patterns for skirts, plus size in particular, let me know. I'm an idiot. So, any help would be awesome if you can provide it. Finally, any, I guess, kind of event segment. Rhinebeck! The one with Rhinebeck! I'm really excited for Rhinebeck, which is next weekend. My husband and I will be going up on the Saturday, October 15th, which is the day before my birthday. And I couldn't be more excited. So if you see us around the festival grounds, feel free to say hello. But I gotta go. I got things to knit for Rhinebeck, guys, and hopefully you do too. So without, I guess, any further ado, thank you for taking the time to join us today. And if you have any questions or suggestions or want to get in touch, I didn't suck this time and I put it at the front, so you'll be able to do that. I look forward to talking to you guys next time, maybe at a reliable schedule. Let's see what could be done with that, right? Anything's possible. If nothing else, we'll talk after I'm back. Thank you, guys.